Welcome back. So, today I want to talk about not having to have it all together all the time, letting your guard down a little bit. So, let's talk about this feeling like you have to have it together all the time. Anyone else, like if I could see you, are you raising your hand or nodding your head? Or was that you before? That was me. I felt like I always had to put on this front. At work, I tried to not ever let anybody see me off my quote unquote game and frustrated or not knowing how to do something. Like, no way. I wasn't going to let people see that. What would they think if I was frustrated or if I was sad or if, I don't know, God forbid, I was being human for a moment, right? I had this guard up around sharing things that were going on, or if I didn't know something, or if I was feeling, inadequate, or if I was feeling like an imposter, like these things that we never said out loud. So many things that people walk around never saying out loud because they feel shame or guilt or worry or fear about being judged are the things that the majority of people are also feeling and thinking, right? I wouldn't share if I was struggling because I didn't want to look weak. I didn't want to be put in this vulnerable, right? This is about vulnerability, right? I don't want to be put in this vulnerable position where I was looked at like I couldn't handle things or that I was struggling. And, I think back to even when I was really sick. So I shared my story before about the start of my health issues when I had viral meningitis and I was so incredibly sick and I had to take some time off of work and I felt so much shame and guilt and worry. I remember being so worried about taking time off. Like I was so sick and I had so much pain in like the back of my head, like my brain stem. I had these headaches that I was getting sick. I was literally just laying out on our patio, but I still would like try and go to work because I was so worried about like what are people going to think, and I was always this like high achiever, always going for the next level. I'm like, what is it going to look like if I have to take time off? And focusing so much on that and not enough on resting, right? Putting so much energy into being so worried about that perception versus just being honest to be like, this is what's going on for me, and being like, I'm not doing okay right now and I need to step back. And just this amount of pressure that I put on myself, not that was put on me. I had a great team and leaders that were like, hey, take the time you need. But it was the pressure I put on myself, which I find most high achievers are doing. They're putting this pressure on themselves. And even saying this, like other times I think about where I didn't want to say that I be weak or be vulnerable or whatever it is, even saying this out loud that I'm going to say like brings almost a little shame. But even when I was pregnant with my son, I remember having those moments at work of like not wanting to talk about it or not wanting people to see it or acknowledge it because I would just have these moments of thinking like, does this make me weak? Does it make people question my abilities? Like, I know it sounds crazy saying it out loud, but just having those moments of like, what will people think, or of me being gone and, being like, hey, don't worry, I'll catch right back up, or, I'm going to come back don't worry, I'm going to come back. I'm not going to stay home. Like all of this bullshit, honestly, now that I'm saying it, I'm like, that's just what came up for me is like, just this bullshit that I would say to myself about it. It was like, I was so afraid of being seen as weak or not at 100%, right? Who can even be at 100% all the time? That it came at the expense of me and me showing up fully and people getting to know me and my fulfillment and my health and my own energy, right? And I started to really, I think, break that down more, break down some of those like walls when I did become a mom. And I was pretty real and honest with people about like, it is so awesome. It's so amazing. It's also like really freaking hard. Like, I didn't see enough examples of that. I felt like after I had my son, of, everyone's like, it's beautiful, it's amazing, it's the best thing I've ever done. It's like, yeah, it totally is. And also, it's really hard. Like, not sleeping and having this thing be dependent upon you. Like, I felt like it was my duty at that time to be honest about like the yin and the yang and both sides of it. And so I think I started to break down some of that, like, acceptance of like, you don't have to be okay all the time. You don't have to be amazing all the time. But then when as we go through transitions, like these things come up for us again. Then when I went and, started my business and became this entrepreneur, I felt like it was coming back up again. Like I needed to put on this front about things and like, oh yeah, everything is great and it's amazing. When in reality, it also was really freaking hard. Right? I said this to someone. I was doing a podcast with somebody else, and I said, when you become an entrepreneur, when you start running a business, it forces you to face like the deepest, darkest parts of yourself, because you dive into this world of personal development. Or even maybe if you're not in starting your business, but you're somebody who's really engulfed in, personal development space and podcasts and books and all of that work, like you are facing like the deepest, darkest parts of yourself, because once you dive into this, you really start to uncover more of who you are, and you start to peel back these layers and take a look at what makes you tick and do this mindset work, right? And you uncover a lot of stuff in that. And so when I started this journey, it's like, oh my gosh, I have so many things to like reveal and to, get through and address. And when I would start to see, other people be more open about how hard the journey can be sometimes, how hard parenting can be, how hard being an executive can be. When I would see executives actually have moments of vulnerability, when I was in my business and, I'm starting to see entrepreneurs and business owners who are much further along be more open about how hard the journey is, it gave me that permission. Not that I needed it from somebody else, but I felt like I did. I felt like I needed to see other people doing it. And that finally allowed me to start going like, hey, okay, it's okay sometimes to say I'm not okay right now, or I'm struggling, or I need help. And that doesn't make me weak. That doesn't make you weak. It doesn't mean that I'm not successful. It doesn't mean that I'm doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean anything other than the label that I'm putting on it. What it means is that I'm human and that I'm having a moment, right? And if more people could own this and share and make it okay to say, hey, I'm not okay right now, and that doesn't make me weak, less than, not capable of, it just makes me human and I'm having a moment. And I always prided myself on being so strong, right? Whatever that definition was, or of not letting my front down. And I think I still have a lot of work to do here, but I'm growing in this space. It's a self-protection mechanism, I would assume, if someone were to analyze it. And, when it came to my health issues that I've had so many people say to me over the years, like, wow, I had no idea you were that sick. And it's like, yeah, because I would put on a face. I would put on this, like, I'm okay, I've got it, right? They didn't know that I couldn't get off the couch some days. They didn't realize that some days I had such bad brain fog that I couldn't put words together. I would look at a cup and I couldn't think of what the name of that thing was. All of the things I had going on, I would brush it off. And really the only person that saw me in that full-fledged being human moments is my husband. God bless him for being there, and me being there for him in his moments. And, I was thinking about this recently, and this is why this episode came for me, is because I had this experience recently that again forced me to be like, okay, it's okay to not be okay all the time. And you might still feel some, shame, or you might still feel worried about being judged, and that's okay. When it feels like the time to address it and share it, you'll know. And I just really wanted to share this with you, that it's okay to not be okay. Like, that's the best way I can say it. It's okay to not be okay all the time. And I'm still unpacking, the situation that happened to me, but I want to honor it and the importance of sharing it, because this is genuinely why I do what I do, is to help other people realize they're capable of so much. And in that journey, it's going to be tough. It's not easy. And so this came up for me. We went up north for the 4th of July, and we've done this every single year. And going up north for the 4th of July is quite triggering for me, because I have shared this back in one of my very first episodes, the journey of my health issues, which really the catalyst was after we had gone up north. So back in 2018, we came home from the 4th of July trip, and that's when I got really sick. And it started with viral meningitis, and then years and years of, sick and progressively getting sicker. We come to find out, which I assumed it had been, then finally at that point, was Lyme's disease. And so for me, that being up north was most likely where I got Lyme's disease, and or what triggered it to really show up. And so going up north, is quite triggering for me because it brings me right back into like the thing that like set off these years of really, really debilitating health issues. And so every year we go up there, it's like I've got to get myself ready. And this year it was especially heavy because I found out last year, last fall, that I officially had Lyme's disease. And so it was like, okay, that's coming from most likely ticks from being up north. And so going up this year after having really gotten an answer on that, and I've spent, the last year now since then working so hard to heal my body, doing so many things and, health things to work on healing your body when you're in late stage Lyme's. Like, it takes a long time. And I've been feeling so good. And so, if I'm just being totally transparent, the idea of going up north this year was like, I've been working so hard to heal my body, and what if, and then you start to spiral, like, what if I get, another tick bite and I get another strain of Lyme's, and like you start to spiral. We went up north and the ticks were the worst they have ever been. Within about an hour of being there, I had one on me, my son had one on him, our dog Jack had multiple on him, and obviously I wasn't handling it well because it happened. And I remember we walked back, we stay in a camper, and I walked back to the camper and my husband looked at me and we got in the camper and I started to kind of panic and I thought I was going to cry. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even want to be up here. And I went into my first ever panic attack. And I'm sharing it. I did share it on social media. I'm sharing it because I'm, kind of through it now and on the other side of it and unpacking it. But what it helped me to see and realize is that while I have done so much to heal my physical body and all of these different protocols, I still have a long ways to go in healing like the mental and the emotional side of having, autoimmune physical things happen to you. And so for me, it was like, ooh, wow, okay, I didn't realize how much I was still holding and trying to put on this strong front to everybody about how I was healing and all these things I'm doing, which is so true. I feel so much better, but I didn't even realize that I still had so much of that mental and emotional side that was pulling until I had my first panic attack. So I just couldn't get air. I couldn't breathe. It only lasted a little while. My husband and I were the only ones in the camper. And then I just went out and did my best and put on a front. And probably nobody there even knows that I struggled unless they listen to this episode because I didn't share it. I just worked through it. And I wanted to share that with you because I'm also working on saying like it's okay to not be okay. All the work that I have done in that space and helping other people to share their vulnerable moments and to share their voice, I still have that where I need to work on it myself. And it's okay. It doesn't make me weak. It doesn't make me, not capable. It doesn't take away from who I am as a speaker and as a coach and as a podcaster. Like none of it does. It's just part of my human experience. And I hope you don't get to the point that this happens to you. And if it has, then you know what that feels like. And if it does happen, obviously it's a sign to you that, you have work to do too when it comes to addressing those things. And sometimes if we keep shoving things down so much, I tell my clients is like if we keep shoving all of our thoughts and feelings down so much, they're going to come boiling out at some point and usually not in a way that we want. So burnout, panic attack, blowing up or exploding on somebody, fighting, whatever that is, it's going to come out. Right. And so I see this a lot with my clients who might be hiding pieces of themselves in an effort to live into this persona, this, box that they curated for themselves, to this perceived notion of how they should be. And oftentimes it's coming at the expense of your own health, your own joy, your own fulfillment. And so I just want you to know that it is okay to not be okay. I want you to know that it's okay to be like, yeah, I'm not okay right now. I'm mad, I'm frustrated, I'm sad, and I just need a minute to figure out what to do with that. Now, this doesn't mean that we are that you have permission to like blow up at people, explode at people, to like you have to own that stuff. You have to own those triggers, right? But it means that you have permission to take time to address what you're feeling so that it doesn't happen. And if it does, it's clear to you that something is out of alignment. Right? But it does not mean that you are any less than. It does not take away from you and what you have accomplished and your success and what you want to achieve It means you are human and that you are going through this journey that we all are. And when I work with clients on addressing this, on unpacking this energy that can really pull us down on the shame and the guilt and the frustration that they're feeling in order to open this up, right? We work on this first because wherever it is you want to go, whether it is that you want to continue growing within corporate and you're a high achieving leader and you're looking to really work on your presence and your communication and confidence as a leader, or you're a business owner who's working on being a high performer, you want to get on stages and speak to grow your business, like we have to start here. We have to start by unpacking that shame, that guilt, that frustration, and all of that stuff in order to get to the place you want to. So I wanted to share this story and message with you and just let you know you don't have to have it together all the time. Nobody does.